Welcome to the show. It's time. It's time. Brickhouse, episode number 2, Wednesday, December the 11th. Just 2 weeks until Christmas. Unbelievable that it's 2 weeks until Christmas. It's crazy. Just totally crazy. But that's where we're at. So, just a little bit about me. My name is Brickhouse, and I've had my YouTube channel for since the beginning. I'm an OG since 2006, and a couple years ago, it'll be 2 years in February, I started actively posting content, and to say the least, it's been an interesting ride so far. I've been trying to keep consistent and posting content daily, at least Monday through Friday. Occasionally, if I'm not busy on the weekends, I'll throw something up on a Saturday or Sunday. But live streaming is something that I've always wanted to do. I just haven't followed through with it until yesterday when I posted my first live stream. And today is episode number 2. Now, one of the things that I'm trying to do with this stream, with this channel, or this show, is have it be audience driven. Of course, right now I don't have much of an audience. So it's going to be dependent on me to attract that audience. But once I attract an audience, it is going to be audience driven. It's going to be whatever you guys want to talk about. And it could be anything from news of the day, sports, what's going on in Hollywood, entertainment, pop culture. I'll put it this way. Almost nothing is off limits. Almost nothing off limits. I mean, there are some limits here on YouTube. And eventually, I'll start simulcasting, simul-streaming over at Rumble. Because I do post videos over to Rumble too. So I do both. You see here, just trying to get my stuff together. Make sure I have everything that I need before I jump on in. So, enough about me, enough about what I'm trying to accomplish here, what I'm trying to do. Let's just dive right on into some news stories, shall we? It's always fun. So, first thing out of the gate, and I did a couple videos about this when this supposed auction happened. And that was the whole story about Alex Jones and InfoWars, more specifically InfoWars, being sold to The Onion. Does anybody even read The Onion anymore? Is The Onion even a thing? I mean, the Babylon Bee is hilarious, but The Onion, really? I don't know anybody even reads that. But here we have a couple of stories. I'm pulling this one first from the New York Post. Judge rejects sale of Alex Jones's InfoWars to The Onion in dispute over bankruptcy auction. See, there was some, I'll just say, some BS going on here with the bankruptcy trustee who was in charge of the auctioning of the assets of InfoWars. What had happened here is that it was announced that, hey, InfoWars is going to be sold off at an auction. Now, anybody that's ever gone to an auction, at least a bankruptcy auction, knows that you have bidders that bid up. It's a cash sale. So if you're the winner of the auction, you got to pay up. And so that's how this is what the judge ordered. And the trustee at the last minute decided to change the rules of the game, where the trustees said, no, time out. We're not having an auction like you think. We're going to have a silent auction, and you're going to submit bids. And even if you're the highest bid, you're not necessarily going to win. I thought the whole point of an auction was the highest bidder wins. So long story short, this auction took place, and the trustee picked the winner to be the Onion of all publications, websites, whatever you want to call them, with backing from the Sandy Hook families. And they were supposedly winning this auction with the use of credit, meaning they were banking on future revenues produced by InfoWars to pay the auction, not pay the Sandy Hook families. So with that being said, and I could be wrong on some of this. It wouldn't be the first time I'm wrong. Wouldn't be the last time that I'm wrong. But I think I got the gist of it. So here we have, this happened yesterday. A federal judge on Tuesday night rejected the sale of the conspiracy platform InfoWars. I wouldn't really call it a conspiracy platform because Alex Jones has been right more times than not, especially lately. To the Onion satirical news outlet after Alex Jones claimed that a recent bankruptcy auction was fraught with illegal collusion. The Onion was named the winning bidder on November 14th over a company affiliated with Jones. U.S. bankruptcy judge Christopher Lopez's decision means Jones could stay at InfoWars in Austin, Texas. The Onion had planned to kick Jones out and relaunch InfoWars in January as a parody. Yeah, what the CEO or president of the Onion was saying was, we're going to relaunch InfoWars and we're going to parody all you conspiracy theorists out there. Okay, sure. Whatever. At the end of a lengthy 2-day hearing in a Texas courtroom, Lopez criticized the auction process as flawed and said the outcome left a lot of money on the table for families of victims of the 2012 Sandy Hook Elementary School. I'll just say event, because I can't say that on YouTube. You got to scratch and claw and get everything you can for them, Lopez said. Lopez cited problems, but no wrongdoing with the auction process. Now over at the Daily Mail, they get into, I think, a little bit more. So picking up where the New York Post left off about Lopez cited problems, but no wrongdoing with the auction process. He said he did not want another auction and left it up to the trustee who oversaw the auction to determine the next steps. Why would you hand it back to the trustee that created this mess to begin with? See, everything surrounding Alex Jones and the $1 billion settlement that he's supposed to pay to the Sandy Hook families, and now this auction, this has all been done for one reason and one reason alone. This was done to silence Alex Jones. Make him bend the knee. See, if he bends the knee, then all this just magically goes away. Well, Alex isn't one to bend the knee. And so this has all been set up to silence somebody, to censor somebody, because they don't like what he has to say. They don't like his opinion. His opinion is his opinion, just like my opinion is my opinion, just like your opinion is your opinion. You can agree with it. You can disagree with it. That's fine. That's the society that we live in. That's why we have the First Amendment, freedom of speech. But some people, mostly on the left, have this attitude, I'll say, that If you don't share their opinion, then you must be silenced. If you don't agree with them, you must be silenced. You have to agree with them 100% in lockstep, or you must be silenced. That's what happened just a few short years ago with, social media companies like Twitter, now X, under Elon Musk. Facebook. Even this platform here has been guilty of that. That's why you've seen platforms like Rumble appear in the marketplace. That's why you've seen an about face on X. Because the left, the progressive left, the woke left can't get away with the things they were able to get away with just a few years ago. Jones, who did not attend the proceedings and has claimed they were shambolic ever since the initial awarding, quickly went back on air to applaud the judge's decision. We can celebrate the judge doing the right thing with the most ridiculous, fraudulent auction known in human history. Jones was seen appearing emotional about the decision in a hug with his fellow InfoWars personality Harrison Smith Tuesday night. Trustee Christopher Murray had defended the Onion's bid during the hearing. Christopher Bataille, a lawyer for the Sandy Hook families who sued Jones in Connecticut, said they were disappointed that the judge rejected the Onion's bid after it was recommended by the trustee as being in the best interests of Jones's creditors. Yeah, they were basically saying, yeah, we'll forego what we're owed from the judgment in the Connecticut case to take over InfoWars. That's the gist of it. Let's see here. This decision doesn't change the fact that soon Alex Jones will begin to pay his debt to these families, as he will continue doing so for as long as it takes. Ben Collins, chief executive of the Onion's parent company, Global Tetrahedron, posted a statement from the Onion just after midnight on Wednesday. We're deeply disappointed in today's decision, but the Onion will continue to seek a resolution that helps the Sandy Hook families receive a positive outcome for the horror they endured. Yeah, they will not be deterred into their attempts to purchase the site out of a desire to make a better, funnier internet. Sure. The Onion offered $1.75 million in cash and other incentives for InfoWars assets in the auction. See, that what they did is they said, here, we're going to make a down payment, and then we're going to use future revenues to pay off the rest of it, which wasn't, that's not a bankruptcy auction. Bankruptcy auction is, we're going to pay X for the assets, and that's it. We own it. First United American Companies, which runs a website in Jones's name that sells nutritional supplements, bid $3.5 million. The bids were a fraction of the nearly $1.5 billion that Jones has been ordered to pay in defamation lawsuits in Connecticut and Texas filed by relatives and victims of the Sandy Hook event, which Jones repeatedly called a hoax. Okay. He has gone on to say that he misspoke and apologized for that. I'm not justifying what he said. I'm going based upon what he has said subsequently since then, since his initial reporting about what happened there. Let's see here. Anything else worth it? I don't think I see anything else. This is just going over what happened during the auction, which I explained earlier. I think that's about it here. as far as Alex Jones is concerned. Now, there are a few comments on this story. A couple bring up some pretty good points here. Like this one, very first one out of the gate. The 8th Amendment specifies that excessive bail should not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. You would think $1.5 billion would be considered an excessive fine and just unconstitutional rights be thrown out by another court, let alone the issue of the First Amendment. Yeah, well, see, that's the thing. To those on the left, they don't care about the First Amendment. And I've said this in a couple of my videos, fairly recently. Back in high school, when I had to take civics class, I think it was my sophomore year, because you had to pass civics to graduate from high school. I don't know if it's a requirement now, but it should be. The teacher in the civics class, first day out of the gate, he posed a question to the class, and that was, what's the national pastime? And naturally, most of us in the class were like, hey, baseball. Baseball's the national pastime. Baseball. And he said, no, it's not baseball. It's litigation. It's suing people. Now, keep in mind, this is in like 1987. This is nearly 40 years ago. Okay? That suing people have become the national pastime. And fast forward now, and here we have a civil lawsuit brought against Alex Jones for things that he supposedly said. And he wasn't even able to defend himself. And on top of that, like this person points out, whether you like Alex or not, the 8th Amendment does apply here. So there's that. Next comment. 1.4 billion is a lot of money for having an unpopular opinion. I've never seen anyone face a suit for claiming 9/11 was an inside job, that the moon landing was filmed in a studio, that Elvis is hiding somewhere, that chewing gum takes 7 years to digest, the earth is flat, and so forth. George Norrie was never banned from radio because his ideas strain credulity. What about Art Bell? By the way, I liked Art Bell a lot more than George Norrie. George Norrie was good, but Art Bell was just, if you can catch his old shows, listen to his old shows. A lot of what he said back then applies today. So that's the Alex Jones situation. It's by all means, this situation isn't over. It's still it's still going to go on. I mean, I don't know why Alex hasn't appealed the ruling to have either the default judgment overturned or to have the amount of money he's supposed to pay out reduced. I mean, if it was me, that would have been one of the first things I've done. I would have appealed it. So, speaking about bending the knee, this story caught fire yesterday. There's two parts to it. First part, Caitlin Clark, named Athlete of the Year by Time Magazine, as she should be. It's my opinion that Caitlin Clark is the best female basketball player on the planet. I mean, I really didn't watch women's basketball until I started watching a few of her games at the University of Iowa and followed them. And I'm not an Iowa fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I followed them the last two years that Iowa made it to the NCAA, made it made their way through the NCAA tournament. So here we go. Breitbart. No athlete generated more buzz and headlines or increased the value of their sport more than Caitlin Clark did in 2024. And now she's being recognized for it. Yeah. See, the WNBA, they should be thanking Caitlin Clark right now. And not just executives of the league, but other players. You know, some of those players that hate her guts. Some of those players that did some things to her on the court that were underhanded and dirty. That, to her credit, she just kind of went, hey, it is what it is. And didn't really call anybody out. The former Iowa Hawkeye who became the greatest women's college basketball player ever and then hit the court running to become the greatest WNBA rookie in history has been named Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year for 2024. Chronicling Clark's accolades and achievements during her final season at Iowa and her rookie season in the WNBA is no mean feat. Still, here are some of the highlights. She led the Hawkeyes to a 34-5 record in the NCAA championship game in her final season at Iowa. They finished runner-up. Clark would end her college career without a ring. She would break the all-time Division I women's scoring record. And we're not talking just the NCAA record. We're going way back to before the NCAA recognized women's basketball. Despite only a short break between the end of her final NCAA season and the start of the WNBA season, Clark continued her success at the next level, where she set the league record for three-pointers in a season, assists in a game, and assists in a season. The Indiana Fever set records for attendance at home games and her final regular season game of the most heavily attended game in league history. Still, Clark's impact can't be confined to Fever games alone. Due to her presence and the buzz she created, the league saw an overall 48% increase in attendance. So, you know, attendance is up, which means revenues are up for everyone. And it's all because of the attention to Caitlin Clark. It's almost like how the NBA was floundering in the mid-'80s until Magic and Bird came along. And they started the rise of the NBA, but the actual rise of the NBA didn't occur until a certain Michael Jordan came along. And then the NBA took off like a rocket, skyrocketed. I mean, there was a time the NBA finals were shown on tape delay on CBS. They weren't shown live. So the same thing could be said for Caitlin Clark. She is the spark that is the beginning to propel women's basketball. That's the good. That is the good. Well, let's talk about the flip side, shall we? This is also from Breitbart. Caitlin Clark bends the knee to the woke mob, says white people have privilege. Oh. My guess is she was listening to some sort of PR firm. That's my guess. I mean, I can't confirm that. But really? You're named Athlete of the Year Time Magazine. You're the reason why attendance is up overall for the WNBA. You're the reason why revenues are up for the WNBA. And it's because you have privilege? No. WNBA superstar Caitlin Clark was sensibly picked as Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year, but despite her amazing success, Clark still feels the need to bend her knee to the league's woke racial agenda and cite her privilege as a white person. Clark's outsized success compared to everyone else in the rest of the world of sports in 2024, not to mention 2023, would have made it hard for Time to justify picking anyone else, just as Donald Trump has taken to saying that his 2024 election win was too big to rig, Clark's incredible rookie year in the WNBA is too big to ignore. I still say she should have been on the Olympic team. I think her popularity ruffled some feathers with the women's Olympic coach and staff. And that's why she wasn't on the Olympic team. I mean, think about it. You have Caitlin Clark, the most famous women's player today in basketball, and she's not on the women's Olympic team, but you take somebody who's getting ready to retire, you take somebody else who is recovering from surgery, you got somebody else who can't even take the floor, you take them over somebody like Caitlin Clark. Are you kidding me? Yet in her retrospective published Tuesday by Time, Clark still fell to her knees to pay homage to the WNBA's race agenda. In its December 10th article, Time explained that Clark is cognizant of the racial underpinnings of her stardom. It's not about race. It has nothing to do with the color of your skin. It happens to do with your talent as an individual. I want to say I've earned every single thing, but as a white person, there is privilege, Clark reportedly told Time in a perfectly formulated DEI statement. A lot of those players in the league that have been really good have been black players. This league has kind of been built on them. The more we can appreciate that, highlight that, talk about that, and then continue to have brands and companies invest in those players that have made this league incredible, I think it's very important. I have to continue to try to change that. The more we can elevate black women, that's going to be a beautiful thing. Time also noted that Clark credited others with paving the way for her success on Saturday Night Live in April. Clark's segment did not include a more serious moment as she thanked a quintet of black women, Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Swoops, Cynthia Cooper, Dawn Staley, and Maya Moore, Clark's basketball hero growing up, for paving the way for her success, the magazine waxed. Indeed, even as the magazine pushed Clark out as its Athlete of the Year, it also planted the seeds of racism to hint that Clark really didn't deserve the accolades. The girl has talent. It's not about the color of her skin at all. Did other players pave the way for her? Sure. Does it matter what the color of their skin is? No, it doesn't. Jordan paved the way for Kobe, who paved the way for LeBron. There's always going to be a younger crop of players that comes along and gets to a point to where they're successful. And yeah, it helps that those that came before them made inroads to help the ones that come after achieve where they're at, their success. Yeah, there is a paving the way. There is a changing of the guard, so to speak. But it's not about race. It's not about race at all. Why do we keep interjecting race into everything? These stars, despite their athletic prowess, were never rewarded with the same level of attention that Clark is now receiving. That's because nobody cared about the WNBA until a star entered the league. It's called marketing. America was founded on segregation and to this day is very much about black and white. No, it's not. It's not about black and white. It's not about the color of your skin. It's not about that. It's about your talent. Every person that's mentioned here, Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Swoops, Cynthia Cooper, even Dawn Staley, Maya Moore, wasn't about the color of their skin. They were all talented. They were all the best at what they do or what they did. They were the best on the court, or one of the best on the court at the time they played. Just like Candace Parker. Candace Parker was the best player on the floor in women's basketball in the time that she played. You could add her into that mix of women that paved the way for the Caitlin Clarks. But the color of their skin doesn't matter. In a sport dominated by black African American players, white America has rallied around Caitlin Clark. The support looks mostly amazing, sometimes fanatical and territorial, sometimes racist. No. It seems that the Great White Hope Syndrome is at play again. Going into the WNBA season, Wilson, a two-time league champion and now three-time WNBA MVP, told the Associated Press she thought Clark's race was a huge contributor to her popularity. No. It's not about her race. She's just that damn good. It doesn't matter what color her skin is. Doesn't matter what we all do as black women. We're all still going to be swept underneath the rug, Wilson said. That's why it boils my blood when people say it's not about race, because it is. Well, Asia Wilson, your blood's going to continue to boil because it's not about the color of your skin. I can't say that enough. You are a talented player. You're a three-time WNBA MVP. You're a three-time WNBA MVP, not because of the color of your skin, because you're a damn good basketball player. You're top 5 in the WNBA. And as Warner Todd Houston points out, you see, Clark only got big because she's white and America is racist. No. One would think Clark should not have to bow to anyone. After all, her list of accomplishments in her first year as a basketball pro is monumental, but the race agenda reigns supreme. Just look at all the accolades. Clark, 22, entered women's pro basketball early this year. After the Fever selected her as the first overall pick in the 2024 WNBA draft, she quickly became the league's most celebrated player. But that was just the first record that Clark broke. She went on to demolish several WNBA records, including scoring the most points by a rookie, single season WNBA assist record, 337, single game WNBA assist record, 19, single season WNBA points by a point guard record, 769, and the first rookie in WNBA history to record a triple-double and nearly 10 more. She was also awarded Rookie of the Year. And here's the good part is that she raised the WNBA's viewership by 170%, averaging 1.19 million viewers over her debut season. And it was all due to the color of her skin. Now, Samuel Say over on X has this to point out, and I am of the same opinion here. You could agree with me, disagree with me on this if you want. Quick thoughts about Caitlin Clark obeying the woke mob. You shouldn't be surprised. Nope, not surprised at all. She's about to find out that obeying them won't stop them from hating her. That's true. That's been shown time and time again. You bend the knee, you apologize. No matter how much you do it, it's never enough, and they keep wanting more. By claiming she has white privilege, she's minimized her parents' sacrifices, coaches, and God's blessings. Yeah. Um, the whole league has had feminist privilege, if you want to go there, because that league would have and should have been out of business long ago. Without the WNBA subsidies, it doesn't work. That's true. The WNBA hasn't made any money in its existence. Without the NBA pumping money into it, they're lucky they're still around. While I do not disagree with your points, I also find it curious how quickly we on the right side have turned to a white-hot rejection of her. It is as if we had placed great expectations on her as our champion, not unlike the other guys. Now, I would disagree with that. Nobody's rejecting her. What they're doing is, like I'm doing right now, is I'm pointing out the hypocrisy of white privilege. That it doesn't have to do with the color of your skin. It has to do with the talent you have as a basketball player in this case. It doesn't matter if she's white, black, Asian, Latino, you name it. Anybody with her talents that can do the things that she does on the court would get the same attention. It's about her talents, her ability. I'm so disappointed along with a lot of her fans. Wonder if this will affect ticket sales. People are so done with this stuff. Yeah, people are done with this stuff. In my opinion, this shouldn't even be, race shouldn't even get into this. In fact, in my opinion, racism and the stuff about race was on its way out the door until Obama came into office. The divider in chief. And all it's done since is it's escalated. This person here says, let me be plain. She plays a black sport and has to play with and against 90% black players. She wants to survive. It doesn't matter. Look what they did to her rookie year. The abuse she took on the court her rookie year. It doesn't make any difference. When you bend the knee, they expect more, and that's going to continue. Most of them in the media like to say this to remain relevant. Mostly NBA guys and WNBA ladies, they say this nonsense to remain relevant. What some people call privilege, we need to get back to calling blessing from God. Absolutely. So you drank the Kool-Aid. Girl, that was so 2023. Yeah, it's a new dawn. It's a new day. It is a new day. And this is what I pointed out just a few minutes ago. It's worse than that. The hard fouls she received during her rookie season will only increase as she basically said that they were deserved. Yeah. Yeah. They'll hate her even more now knowing they can extract such concessions out of her. Yeah. So that's the good and the bad of Caitlin Clark. You know, it's easier to capitulate and bend the knee than it is to take a stand and say, hey, the color of my skin has nothing to do with it. Whether you can like me, you can dislike me, but I've gotten what I've gotten by the grace of God and the talents that I have. So there you go. Caitlin Clark. The good and the bad. One other story I picked up on is something that this came out of left field, actually. This is from Awful Announcing. Brett Favre says, maybe it crossed my mind to help Strahan pass Mark Gastineau. Oh, man. For those of you out there that don't remember, Mark Gastineau was a defensive lineman for the New York Jets, part of what was called the New York Sack Exchange back in the 80s, late 70s, early 80s, early to mid 80s. And Mark Gastineau held the record for most sacks in a season in the NFL. That was until Michael Strahan broke that record in 2001. And ironically enough, Mark Gastineau still is not in the Football Hall of Fame. My opinion is he should be. He was that dominant of a defensive player in his time in the NFL. Well, a little clip surfaced yesterday, and I'm going to play it here for you. This is Brett Favre. This is part of a 30 for 30. Brett Favre and Mark Gastineau have a little confrontation. And here you go.
I thought we met a long time ago. At least I saw you.
Right.
How you doing?
When you fell down for him. I'm going to get my sack back. I'm going to get my sack back, dude.
You probably would hurt me.
Well, I don't care. You hurt me. You hurt me. You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
You really hurt me. You hurt me, Brett.
We got to get back to this, Brett. I'm sorry.
Anybody will tell you Brett Favre took a dive. And you know it. She knows it. He knows it. And everybody knows it. I didn't know what had happened. The NFL should have stopped that and said, listen, no. That's not a sack. He took my record away from me.
Mark Gastineau's record of 22 sacks in a single season, which he achieved in 1984, stood until the final minutes of the 2001 season.
Strahan gets the sack. And you know what? No one's happier than Brett Favre. He gets the record. Well, he got to give me is what he got.
There was nobody else that wanted Michael to get that more than Brett, and he showed it right.
Now you notice in that clip when they show this the sack, you got to give me. That's what he got. So yeah, Mark Gastineau's not happy. On Tuesday, ESPN got a lot of attention for an advanced clip from their latest 30 for 30. The documentary called The New York Sack Exchange covers the New York Jets defensive line of the early 1980s, including Mark Gastineau. And this advanced clip showed Gastineau confronting Brett Favre at a memorabilia show in 2023, blasting Favre for going down easily against Michael Strahan at the end of the 2001 season. For the sack that put Strahan over Gastineau for the official NFL single-season sack record. TJ Watt tied Strahan's record in 2021. So, yeah, and if you watch the clip and you notice, Brett's walking up to him ready to shake his hand, and Mark Gastineau's just like, nope, ain't doing it, not doing it, no way. Now, over the years, there's been many back and forths about this sack. In fact, Brett Favre put out a whole tweet thread on it today. Back in 2002, when Michael Strahan sacked me at the end of the game that we had wrapped up, I was in no way trying to hurt Mark Gastineau. I was trying to close out a game and squeeze the last bit of fun out of a hard-fought game. In a different game or situation, I would have made a bigger effort to avoid the sack or tackle for loss. But at no point was I thinking about hurting Gastineau. Maybe it crossed my mind to help Strahan. I didn't think it through. That wasn't my forte at the time. Favre saying it wasn't his forte at the time. Oh, boy. There was no malice on my part. Mark was a great player. My understanding is he's a great guy and a fun teammate, a guy who played with the kind of joy and passion I tried to mimic. I understand the frustration, but I'm not his enemy. A while back, he saw me at a card show. Mark definitely left an indelible mark on the game. I hope the controversy brings attention to just how great Mark Gastineau was. He belongs in Canton. Merry Christmas, everyone, Brad. Now, I think it's a solid response from Brett. I think it's a very solid response. When you look at the footage from that game, Strahan had a free run at him. Now, I don't know if it was a missed block. I don't know if it was planned. All I know is that it was recorded as a sack. According to the article here, it's notable to see Favre making those points not shortly after the card show confrontation, but more than a year later. Well, of course he's going to address it now because ESPN put it in as part of a 30 for 30. If that footage from the card show had never surfaced, then of course he's not going to address it. It's out of sight, out of mind at that point. Why would you bring it up? It's part of a 30 for 30 that's going to be shown on ESPN. People are going to see it. That's why you address it now. And it's perhaps especially notable to see Favre openly admit in a different game or situation, I would have made a bigger effort to avoid the sack or tackle for loss. And maybe it crossed my mind to help Strahan as he defended that sack as legitimate immediately post-game and has continued to do so several times over the years. A significant part of this is how Favre's play here in Strahan's subsequent record was widely controversial at the time. It saw media takes such as low-level fraud. Mark Kreidler in an ESPN.com column. And it may be another 17 years before the NFL sack record is broken. Time enough for the statute of limitations to expire on fraud. Ouch. Let's go down here. It's so wild that Favre is admitting, contrary to his past protestations, that he would have done more to avoid this sack in a different situation. And that he's also admitting that there might even have been the thought in his head to help Strahan get the record. I think Strahan and Favre were friends at the time. I think they still are. It doesn't mean necessarily Strahan wouldn't have gotten the record if Favre had done more. The play here saw Strahan come through on Favre unblocked. Whether that was deliberate or not is another matter of debate, with tight end Bubba Franks missing a block on Strahan and saying he thought it was a running play. He may as well have been able to wrap him up for the sack even if Favre had tried his utmost. But Favre certainly pulled off plenty of pocket escapes over the years, and it's not inconceivable he might have made one here if he had been trying his best. I mean, yeah, if you look at the play again, let's rewind this a little bit. So if you watch the play again, Strahan comes free I mean, you can see his foot up in the upper left-hand corner. He comes free. Favre sees him. I mean, he was bootlegging to that direction. So what is he going to do? Could he have escaped? Sure, he could have escaped. But it's the end of the season. Why take a chance on getting hurt? Just go to the ground, which is what he did. Now, Mark Gastineau could be upset about that, saying it's not a sack, but it's a sack. When the quarterback gives himself up like that on a free runner, I mean, what's he supposed to do? Take a hit square to the chest? Take a potentially hard hit to the chest? I mean, I can see both sides of it. Maybe the key part of this whole situation is its illustration of sports history continues to matter and sometimes even sees new developments decades later. Favre's comments here are the clearest indication he's ever given that he wasn't doing his utmost to avoid Strahan's record-setting sack. No, he went down because he was going to get clobbered. Hello? He was going to get clobbered. That's what quarterbacks do. They go down instead of taking a big hit. That's probably enough to prompt a change to the official NFL record books. That's especially true considering that Strahan is no longer the sole holder of the record, and also considering that player effort to avoid a sack is not something that's been universally measured across situations, nor something that could be. But it might bring back at least some of the conversations around the record's legitimacy, and it definitely might help Gastineau's Hall of Fame campaign, and as Favre noted in his thread, that status or lack thereof is huge for many former players economically, and that's further shown by the Hall of Fame helmets Favre is signing at the show. So, I mean, to me, it's just a quarterback not wanting to take a hard hit. Of course, I'm saying that 23 years later. I didn't watch this game live in 2001. It wasn't a game I was interested in because it was the Packers. I'm not a Packers fan. But just looking at that clip now, all these years later, it's what quarterbacks do now. They go down instead of taking a hard hit. And yes, I'll say it again. Mark Gastineau should be in the Hall of Fame. Why he's not, I have no idea. Maybe he should have sacked one more person. Maybe there's a reason I've never heard of Mark Gastineau. Well, I can see somebody today not hearing about Mark Gastineau. I got a chat here from Dan Chavez saying, I went to high school with Mark Gastineau. His sister was hot back then. He was a jerk. That's probably the steroids, Dan. It's probably the roids. That's what I would say. It was the steroids. Back then, steroid use was rampant in the NFL. Unless they can prove that they ran that play to leave Brett open for the dive, this man needs to sit down. Favre was going to get sacked whether he fell down or not. Yeah. What else? What the hell else is Brett supposed to do here? Give Michael Strahan a spine buster at people's elbow? Yeah. Give him a AA spine buster. He went down exactly the same way any other quarterback would have in this situation. Gastineau's just a crybaby. Either Brett takes a dive or Strahan knocks him off his block. That sack was happening either way. Yeah, that's what I said. That sack was happening either way. So, last thing before I go, we have a trailer that dropped a day ago. And usually when I do these trailers, I usually give it 24 hours to see how they perform. And this one here for 28 years later. This is a sequel to 28 Days Later, 28 Weeks Later, blah, 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 blah. And so far, it's got 8.5 million views. It looks like the thumbs up on it are 332,000 to the thumbs down being just over 3,000. So it's got a good ratio to the positive. Unlike Snow White, on the other hand, you can check out my videos on Snow White and Rachel Zegler, especially the latest ones about the trailer and how poorly it's performing. But I just thought I'd take a couple of minutes to check this trailer out because evidently it's getting a lot of positive buzz. So here we go. 28 years later. Really? Teletubbies? Really? And look at that TV. Old CRT. Wow.
Wait, sit here. Sit. Auntie, what's going on? Jimmy, sit still, keep quiet, and do not move from this spot.
Seven, 6, 11, 5, 9 and 20 miles today, 4, 11, 17, 32 the day before. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. Don't look at what's in front of you. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. Men go mad with watching them. There's no discharge in the war. If your eyes drop, they will get the top of you. Boot, 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 moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. Try to think of something different. Oh, my God, me from going lunatic. Moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. 7, 6, 11, 5, 4, 17, 32 the day before.
Now, I got to say, that's how you do a trailer. That's how you pique interest. That is exactly the opposite of the trailers for Snow White. That is... I think I've seen 28 Days Later. I don't think I saw 28 Weeks. I need to go back and watch those. Now that football season's almost over, at least college season, have a little free time to watch some things that I haven't watched yet. But there you have it. The trailer for 28 Years Later. It looks pretty good. I gotta say, it looks really good. So that's all I got for today, guys. It's been a great hour. Hope everybody has a wonderful Wednesday. And we'll see you tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.